Hello everyone, welcome back to BMD Portraits, and today I'm going to walk you through a complete step-by-step graphite pencil portrait drawing tutorial. We will be creating a realistic close-up portrait of a young girl looking slightly upward with soft light falling on her face from the left side. This video is perfect for beginners as well as those who are struggling to improve their pencil shading skills because I will be covering everything from setting up accurate proportions, building up layers, and blending, all the way to adding final highlights and details that will make a portrait come alive. So, grab your pencils and sketchbook and let's begin this 14-minute, 14 steps journey together into the world of realism. Okay, let's begin with our step one. This is what I call geometric sketching with grid method, because the foundation of every successful portrait is accuracy. For this drawing, I'm using the grid method on A4 size paper with each box measuring about 3 by 4 inches. The grid helps me place the facial features precisely, making it easier to capture the likeness of the subject. Using a simple HB graphite pencil, I carefully sketch the basic outlines of the face, eyes, nose, lips, and even the hair. At this stage, the lines don't need to be dark or detailed. They just serve as guides. Remember, accuracy here will save you a lot of correction time later. Think of it as laying down the blueprint before building the structure. But if this kind of grid is too big for you, you can start with smaller grids to make accurate proportions, but you can make it bigger and bigger as you go on with your practice. It's important to just have quite a bigger grids. Try to practice bigger grids because it will save you lots of time and effort, and you will be able to train your eyes to see the features of the face inside the grid to be able to create an accurate proportion, because like what I said, every successful portrait starts with accurate proportions. Okay, so after the step 1, we go directly to our step 2. This is building base tones with D pencil, light and steady. So this is what I call base tone shading. Once the outlines are in place, I begin layering the first tones using a B grade graphite pencil. I apply light hatching and cross hatching strokes across the face, especially over areas that will eventually hold midtones and shadows. This base tone is crucial. It acts as the first layer of skin. Think of it like priming a canvas before painting. Don't worry about perfection at this point. Keep your pressure light and consistent. You're simply building the groundwork for depth and realism. And at this stage, you will be able to see the significance of your geometric outlines. You are just simply shading your geometric outlines that we did in the first step using this B pencil, and you don't have to be really perfect and accurate in terms of the shading, because remember, this is just the initial shading step. You will be shading more layers of graphite later to achieve realism. So at this stage, you are not concerned for your drawing to look realistic. It will look more like an artistic drawing at this stage because of this geometric shape that we are shading. Okay, now we are going to our step 3. Next, I use an H pencil to lightly shade across the entire face, including the areas that will remain highlighted. This helps blend the base tones, softens the transitions, and adds a delicate uniformity to the portrait. This step ensures that the highlights won't look like plain white paper later, but instead appear more natural and skin-like. And now it's time to blend. I take a piece of tissue paper and gently smooth out the pencil strokes. The goal here isn't to make everything perfectly polished yet, but to remove the roughness and unify the tones. This blending creates a soft surface that makes the next layers easier to apply. And now let's go directly with our step 5, using the darkest pencil that you have. With the base established, I now pick up a Staedtler Mars Lumograph Black 8B, or I can also choose a Cretacolor Nero soft pencil for this one, but I guess I will use the Cretacolor because it's more soft compared to the Staedtler. But you can use either. These pencils are reserved for the darkest areas, the pupils of the eyes, the nostrils, the gap of the lips, the deep shadows where light doesn't reach. By locking in these darkest tones early, I set a clear value range for the portrait, which makes balancing the rest of the drawing much easier. And now let's start the process of realism. Let us build realistic skin tones using the layering technique. Okay, so now this is where the magic of realism begins. First, using a B pencil again, I gradually shade the skin, paying close attention to subtle tonal shifts. I work in circular motions or very soft hatching strokes or cross hatching strokes to avoid harsh lines. We want to be able to layer gently with less pressure and smoothly. And here I am building mid-tones around the cheeks, under the eyes, as you can see right here, and along the forehead. I'm not pushing for the final depth yet. This is still layering. Okay, so always go with multiple layers. The secret to a realistic skin is patience and gradual build up of layers of pencils on paper. And to be able to do that, you will be able to need a good paper also. At this drawing, I'm using Strathmore Bristol Vellum Surface. This paper has a very nice texture to hold the multiple layers of pencil. So get yourself a good paper with nice texture to be able to build your skin very nicely and more realistically. So this is how I build the skin tone. This is just the initial pencil for our actual skin tone. Okay, so now we are already on our step 7. This is what I call controlled blending. And this is actually the second blending that I do on this portrait, because now that the skin has more structure, I blend again, but this time more deliberately. I use this, what I'm using right now, the Casimir rubbing tool around the detail areas like the eyes, the nose, and the lips to control the blending. And then after this, I choose to switch to the tissue paper again, just to softly smooth out the larger areas of the face. This step helps me eliminate unwanted grain and makes the tonal values appear much more natural. Now, are you ready for the next step? This is the step 8, adding depth and shadows using a 3B pencil. And I do this to enhance depth. I bring in this 3B pencil right here. I think this is the Tombow Homograph 3B pencil. This pencil is perfect for strengthening shadows, especially along the side of the nose and also under the chin and the right side of the face where less light falls. This is also when I start hinting at the hair texture, slightly firmer strokes. So the drawing begins to feel three-dimensional at this stage, with strong contrasts that definitely separate light from shadow. But again, you don't need to put heavy pressure on your layering from the beginning to the end to avoid too much shine of the graphite. Okay, now in step 9, we are going to quick blend, or what I call smooth transition. Another like blending with tissue ensures the new shadows merge seamlessly with the earlier tones. The face now feels more unified with no harsh divisions between values. Okay, now we are on our step 10. This is one of the most enjoyable part of every portrait drawing because this is where we erase for our highlights. And now I start with using a kneaded eraser. To create realistic highlights, I carefully lift graphite using a kneaded eraser. The left side of the face is where most of the light falls, so I focus on those areas. Highlights on the forehead, nose bridge, and cheeks immediately boost the contrast, making the portrait come alive. This is one of the most satisfying stages, I'm telling you. Watching light emerge from the graphite is pure magic. But you need to do this very gently and very accurately. You don't want to erase everything. You just want to be able to show your highlights really well to make your drawing more 3D or three-dimensional. So I love this. I love this part where I lift off the graphite from the drawing. Okay, now we are already on step 11. This is dark shadows and smooth skin. Deepening shadows with 7B graphite pencil. So this is a quite dark pencil to use. Now comes the refining stage. Again, what I'm using here, the 7B pencil, I darken the shadows even more, particularly around the eyes, under the lips, and along the right side of the face where most dark shadows fall. Here, I work slowly, shading small areas and immediately blending with a brush, tissue, or a foam applicator that you will see later here. This combination of layering and blending creates silky smooth skin textures. The portrait now feels balanced with both soft transitions and strong depths. Okay, so now I'm gonna shut up for a few seconds because I want you to observe the process very carefully. This step right here. So now let's go to our step 12 using the same dark pencil as before, either Cretacolor Nero or Staedtler Black 8B. I add details like eyelashes, eyebrows, and strands of hair. Sharp controlled strokes are essential here because these details frame the face and add character to the portrait. And now we go directly to our step 13. Highlights are the finishing touch that makes a portrait sparkle. I use an electric eraser to add bright reflections in the eyes and on the lips. For flyaway hairs and crisp light edges, I use a precision pencil eraser. And finally, I soften certain areas with a kneaded eraser to keep the glow natural. This contrast between the darkest shadows and the brightest highlights gives the drawing its realistic depth. And finally, we go to our final retouch. In these last moments, I step back and carefully examine the portrait. Any area that feels unbalanced is adjusted, whether it's deepening shadows, refining edges, or softening transitions. Small corrections can make a huge difference. And there you have it, a completed realistic graphite pencil portrait of a young girl. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to BMD Portraits, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss future tutorials. Share this video with other aspiring artists and let's grow this community together. Thank you for watching. Keep practicing. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.